our meeting. It's my privilege to introduce in just a few minutes Dr. Joe Hare. But before, I'm going to talk just briefly about this program, and then I'll let Joe give some details about it. Before I really start talking about the program, it's my privilege to let everyone know that Dr. Hare is the recipient of this year's Phi Kappa Phi Lifetime Achievement Award. That was just announced yesterday. It's awarded on campus to one research / professor, and Joe was hands down the selection. So Joe, congratulations, well deserved.
Thank you.
And just a little bit about our program. Our PhD program is designed really for two different pathways, and I'll let Joe go into details, but for those that need an additional credential to change or to make a slight change in what they're doing now, it's perfect for that. At the same time, if you want to make a change in your direction and move out of the real world into academia, it works very well for that. We've been very successful with this program. And although Joe will talk about, I do want to mention one thing that's really unique about this program, and it's the fact that we have what we call global scholars participate in this program. At most universities, when you go into a PhD program, you deal with their faculty only. And we're blessed to have a really, really good faculty here that are teaching in the MBA, in our PhD program. At the same time, we bring in experts from around the world, thought leaders that also participate in this program. So it's almost like going to an all-star baseball game. Not only do you get the home team members, but you get players from everywhere. And I'll give Dr. Hare credit for that, for putting this program together. And if you need any questions answered about the university, about the college, please reach out to me. Again, Bob Wood. They didn't trust me with very many letters in my name. Just emails online, and we'll go from there. Dr. Hare, it's yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Bob. It's a pleasure to be here this morning. And what I'd like to say first is that this is the first time that we've ever delivered this via Zoom. We've practiced. We think we're going to be good. But if we have a few problems, we would appreciate your understanding. We've always had an opportunity to present this in person. We obviously assume that we will be able to do this in the future, but it's good to be with you this morning, and we hope we can answer all the questions that you may have. But as the dean says, if we don't, we're here to answer your questions, because we know this is a very important decision and not something that you can make easily. We want to make sure that we have answered your questions and dealt with the issues that you may be questioning at this point. Our program is what we refer to and others refer to as a non-traditional program. It's non-traditional in the sense that our delivery of the content of the program is different. Why is it different? Well, I spent about 30 years teaching at traditional doctoral programs at Louisiana State University and University of Mississippi. And I often encountered individuals who were similar to what I think many of you are. They were confronted with a situation where they had house payments, car payments, families, children, and it was impossible for them to take off for 4 or 5 or sometimes 6 years to pursue their dream, which was a PhD, and many of them an opportunity to teach at the university level. So when I went to Kennesaw State University and started the program there, they had asked me to help them to start the program because they had attempted it several times and it didn't work. And having had the experience that I had in the past and understanding the challenges, I said, yes, I believe I can do that. And we actually did that. To do that, what we did is we ensured that our program, even though it's viewed as non-traditional, our program has coursework that is in fact equivalent to the typical traditional program, but it's different in terms of the delivery. We basically repackaged the requirements at most other programs. We repackaged them, and we now, as many of you know, we deliver them on the weekends, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You come to campus, we hope in the future, but you come to campus, you learn from individuals here, including, as the dean said, you learn from global scholars. Global scholars are designed to fill in the gaps for specialty areas, niche areas that our faculty is not necessarily in a position to deliver. They know something about those topics, but they aren't the quote experts in the field. So we have a good group of individuals to support you to deliver similar coursework and of course to ensure the quality of that coursework that's delivered to you so that when you graduate, you have skills comparable to, and many of our students say when they go to present their papers at conferences, the skills they have are better, are at a higher level than others. That's not a chance. That was planned ahead of time. Our program, as you know, is accredited by AACSB. I encounter a number of individuals occasionally who have chosen to go to totally online programs or others that are accredited by lesser organizations. And they always ask me, what can I do to come to your program? I try to help them. But in fact, if you choose our program, you will be coming to an AACSB program that is in fact going to provide you the skills to compete at AACSB universities. We have mentors here. Those mentors will work with you not only when you're on campus, but they'll work with you in delivering via Zoom or other kinds of technology that will enable you to exchange ideas and to support you to answer the questions that you may have in between the weekends that you spend here on campus. We also have a different culture than traditional programs. We screen people very closely before we admit them, and all the individuals that we admit to our program, we are confident that they have the knowledge and the ability and the motivation to be successful in our program, and we support them. The only thing that stops them from completing is they occasionally encounter personal situations which we can't control and they can't control. But at the same time, we still work with them to the extent possible to help them to overcome those personal situations. I'm pleased to say that our graduation rate overall is somewhere in the 80%, well above the about 50% in the traditional programs. After about a little over 3 years, we're in the mid 70s in terms of graduation. So we believe that the success of our students in terms of graduating on time and eventually graduating overall is a result of the culture that we have, the supporting environment. And the other aspect is that we try to communicate to students that this program is not here for you to compete. Everyone that we admit to this program, as I said, is capable of competing. So the thing to do is to join with people, be a team, exchange ideas, and everyone rises to the highest level possible. As you may know, we have a new concentration this year. We started out with management, then we added marketing when I joined the faculty here in 2016. And now we've added the latest concentration, that is in business analytics. We're excited about our new concentration, but we're still strongly supporting the traditional marketing and management programs. The marketing program is designed and was designed based on my background. Many of you may not know, but I graduated from the University of Florida a few years ago, and my major was marketing, but I quickly drifted into or moved into the area of quantitative marketing, and I may be known a little bit more for the quantitative side, but I still strongly support and enjoy the marketing side. And the research that I do, other than the methodological research to advance statistical analysis and so forth, that research is empirical and it's based upon testing theories in marketing, typically in supply chain management and ethics and a number of other very strong areas in the marketing field. And I look forward to working with those of you in marketing to, in fact, provide you opportunities and insights about the emerging areas in the field of marketing. I'd like to turn this over to Dr. Gillis. Gillis is the chair of the management department, and he'll briefly make some comments on the opportunities that you have in management to be a successful individual in that field. Dr. Gillis?
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for spending a little bit time of your Saturday morning with us. We very much appreciate it. I've been here 14 years now, so I've been here since the inception of our PhD program, which started off as a DBA, and for about the past 2 years or so now, we've transitioned over to a PhD with no real change in the program, but a change in a little bit of the emphasis. And one of the things is obviously with a management PhD, most people, I would say, use it to either transition into academia, or to, if they're already in academia as an instructor somewhere, they like to have that, may allow them to join and hit some tenure track position. There's also, some people will actually use it to advance within their own careers wherever they happen to be. So it's a pretty wide and versatile degree. The two main areas of focus within the management concentration are going to be more of a micro, personality, traits, behaviors at an individual level, and a more macro focus, which is more looking at either organizations. And then there's a more of a middle ground, a meso, that you could kind of a hybrid between those two, where you might look at individuals go into groups or groups impacting organizations. So I teach within the program as well. So I teach some of the organizational theory. And as you'll talk to some of the students around here, that when we get to the question and answer, they've all had me in class, at least from the management side. So they won't sugarcoat it for you. It's a difficult program. It's not for the faint of heart, I would say, but it is manageable and it is doable. So if you are, still interested, I always like to give people a realistic job preview, and one of those is that it's very hard, and there's a reason that there's a national rate of only about 50% of people entering programs actually completing, and there's a reason that our numbers are between 70 and 80%. And the reason that we get people through is because we have the faculty and we have the mentality that if we're going to admit you, and it is a competitive process to be admitted, then we want to see you succeed. Because when you succeed, you make not only yourself look good, but you make us look good, and you make the program look good. So it's a win-win all the way around. So welcome to this morning. Please ask any questions. I will be here throughout till about the 10 o'clock or whenever you finish. So if you have questions for management faculty, I will take them at any time when we get to the question and answer period. Back to you, Dr. Hare.
Well, and I'm going to turn it over to Hermano to talk about our business analytics concentration. Hermano?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Hermano Fuso, and I'm an associate professor of economics and finance. I have been here at South for 7 years now, and I'm mainly an empirical economist. So I use a lot of econometrics and statistics to test scientific hypotheses in economics and finance. So I have a interdisciplinary background myself because I was an engineer. I have a bachelor and master's in engineering, and then I turned into business and economics for my PhD. So the PhD in business analytics, or I should say first business analytics, it's a interdisciplinary field, we can say, of business, which is really, it's applied data science to business data. So what really is, it's a combination of computer science and statistics. So computer science, basically, it's, or computing, we should say, it's really focused on the theory of computing, on how to develop very efficient algorithms. Versus statistics, on the other hand, focuses on the knowledge of data and inference. So data analytics, or business analytics more specifically, because we really talk about business data, it's really in the intersection of these two fields. and is very applied and allows to extract very valuable information that is in business data that then is used to drive business and managerial decision. In fact, if you notice, sometimes you receive a text message from a friend about an upcoming trip somewhere, and then when you connect to Google, you see that there are offers for travel to go to that specific location. So all the data are shared now in the world, and the industry is doing a great job using data analytics and business analytics to try to predict consumer behavior. In academia, we are a little bit behind, and we think that we are probably the first mover in under the academic point of view of business analytics, because there are not many PhD programs available out there. So what we envision for possible career path of our graduate, we think that there may be many opportunities in academia. In fact, according to the AACSB repository of new programs, there are at least 220 schools in the world in the past few years that they are offering over 400 programs in business analytics. So definitely there is a need of instructors out there, of people with really good skills in business analytics, academic skills. On the other hand, also it's growing pretty fast in the industry. There are all the R&D departments of big high-tech companies like Google or Yahoo and Amazon that are hiring individuals with academic skills that they will conduct private research for these companies. So it's a very versatile program, we believe. And even for Glassdoor, for the American jobs, business analytics and data science is the top right now, top job, best job in the US to work for. And I would be happy to answer any questions to you if you have any. And we are still working with Dr. Hayes to finalize the program, but of course it's imperative that the students need to have a very strong foundation in marketing and management the very first year. So they need to know very well the core of management and marketing. And Joy, if I missed anything, please, you can add anything you want.
Thank you, Dr. Fuso. One of the things that I want to emphasize is that we do have a strong statistics and research design and research methodology component. And I want you to understand that this is probably one of the biggest challenges in the program. I know that from having talked and worked with about 150 individuals as I've watched them continue their journey through the program. But the emphasis, whether you choose to go into business analytics or marketing or management, the emphasis is an applied emphasis. You will not come into our program and be expected to solve equations. What we will do is introduce you to software. We will help you to understand the black box that is being executed with those formulas. But you don't spend your time solving equations. You spend your time in applying software to help individuals make better decisions in a business environment. At this point, I'm going to turn this over to our Director of Promotions, Emmy Risky. Emmy is going to coordinate with the students that are current students in our program. You've gotten an exposure to the faculty, a limited exposure. And at this point, we feel like we would like to share with you what the student perspective is. So Emmy, if you'd take over, I'd appreciate it.
Thanks, Dr. Hare. Everyone, thanks again for joining us. I want to briefly introduce our student panel. And then after we are done, we've got a few questions that I'll ask our panel. And once we go through those, I would love to open the floor up to all of you to ask our students any questions that you might have. And that won't be limited to students. You can ask Dr. Hare or Dr. Fuso or Dr. Gillis questions as well. So I'll go ahead and get started. I'd like to introduce Miss Pam. Pam is from Huntsville, Alabama, and she is in the final chapter of her dissertation. She has a background in mathematics and computer science, and currently she serves as the agency records officer for the Missile Defense Agency, where she has over 22 years of experience. So Pam, thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to introduce Ron Sang. Ron comes to us from the supply chain operations sector. He completed the program as part of cohort 5 and now lives in Atlanta, Georgia, where he consults and teaches part-time for Agnes Scott College. Ron, thanks for joining us.
Good morning, everyone.
And then finally, I'd like to introduce Stacy Welborn. Stacy started the program in 2018 as part of cohort 6. She has completed her residency and is now in the all but dissertation phase. Stacy resides here in Mobile, Alabama, where she has extensive experience as an entrepreneur and an adjunct professor. Stacy is currently teaching full-time at Spring Hill College and is owner of the Container Yard Co-working and also serves as a marketing consultant for Welborn Strategy. Stacy, good morning. Thanks for being with us.
Morning, everyone.
So we'll go ahead and get started. The first question, so what is it like being a student in the USA PhD program?
I'll jump in. I would say it is a wonderful blend of being rewarding and challenging. It's rewarding because it is a privilege to be able to pursue this level of education. And certainly if you're here, this is a lifelong dream, and not everybody gets to pursue this level of education. So you really have to recognize it for the privilege that it is. It's challenging because this is by far the toughest thing that I have ever pursued in my professional or academic career. With this level of education, you really have to be all in. To pursue a PhD, it is a calling. It is not something you wake up and just haphazardly say, hey, I'm gonna go and do this. This is not something you do for a vanity pursuit. There is something greater within that says, hey, I have a greater contribution to make to this world. And so, you know, by golly, I'm gonna pursue this with everything that's in me because there's something more that I am supposed to contribute to the world. You are a gatekeeper for your profession. So I would say rewarding and challenging at the same time.
Go ahead, Ron. We'll go in order of introductions, or you want me to jump in?
I second everything Pam said. One thing I want to add is that the difference. Well, I have not been to another PhD program, so I cannot compare schools for you. But then what I experienced at USA is that the sense of atmosphere within the school, from faculty to the administrators to the cohort, is really a cohesive unit that help you learn and help you be successful. I think that's the biggest part I get out of being a student, being part of the program, is from the faculties that within the PhD program to the faculties that outside of the PhD program, within the whole school, is there to help you to be successful. Later on, when we talk about a little bit more personal experience, that very unique dissertation that go beyond the program itself, but I was able to get the help I need to graduate. So it is just tremendous amount of camaraderie among the faculty, administrators, and as well as the cohort.
And I would agree with all those things. I would certainly say it's the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life, but completely worth it. I'm one of those that did start an online only program a year before I started this program, and I didn't care for it at all. It was not for me. It is for some, but I really wanted that in-person experience, and I certainly hope that you guys considering coming in will get that in-person experience, as Joe mentioned. Having the cohort model has just made the process fun, really. It's been a great support network, but it's also made all the hard work a lot of fun too. So I loved the in-person experience. I loved our residencies. While I had a lot of work to get prepared for them, I looked forward to every single residency and seeing my friends and getting to get together to talk about it, because they know what you're going through. Your family and everybody else around you has no idea what's going on, but your cohort does. So they're my best friends.
What does a typical residency weekend look like for y'all?
Okay,
Well,
I'll jump in. It's very fresh on my mind. I hadn't been too long finished my residency. Well, first of all, you want to get there the day before. Your classes start on Friday. There's normally a breakfast at 7:30 to just kind of, hey, how you doing? But you definitely want to make sure that you get there the day before. And I say that because number one, you have to really transition into your full-time student mode. You know, we all have the pressures of life, work, career, family, community, if you're involved in other things. But when you come for those residency weekends, you really have to be focused and you really have to be targeted on the subject at hand. So you want to get there the day before. And also that gives you a chance to kind of catch up with your colleagues before you enter into classes. The thing about the residency weekends is it really creates a sense of family. I love the way that Stacy put it, you know, being able to collaborate with your colleagues. They know more than anyone what you're going through, because now that when you get to be in these programs, you're a unique breed. So in some instances, you'll find that you kind of disconnect to some degree with other facets of your life, because this will become one of the most important things in your life. So you want to get there the day before. The weekends are filled with coursework, readings, nightly readings after you've done your work for that day. You're working through thoughts. If there has been homework assignments, you know, you'll be going over, you know, what you did right, you know, those things that you can do better, really working through concepts. You'll have readings that are due in between the residencies. So when you come for those residencies, the discussions are very important. This is article-based learning. There are books that we reference, but we are studying recent research. And so you really have to be focused on that information and actually be prepared to kind of challenge ideas as you and your colleagues are discussing the various articles. If there is something that you don't understand, or if you have a different perspective, the professors are there to facilitate the discussions, but you have to come with that information that you've already read and you've already thought about and analyzed, because we're teaching each other. So definitely have the right mindset when you come. You're not coming to receive, you're coming to share. There is information that you will receive from the professors, but it's collaborative learning. So, you know, I definitely want you to have the right perspective in terms of that. You will walk away from the weekends with sometimes with questions, but all the time with information that you have gained to prepare you for the next session or the next residency. But it's a lot of work and it's definitely collaborative. So come with work in mind. This is not a vacation weekend from your family. I think it's important to say that. So don't plan on making mall trips or beach trips or fun trips. You'll do fun things with your family of your cohort that you created, but the focus really is knowledge attainment and knowledge sharing. I yield to Ron on that. Ron and Stacy.
Very true. I can probably summarize with one word: intense. It is intense weekend. So yeah. Just imagine it's this knowledge overflow. But those you get used to it, and you want more of it. So it's a strange thing. You would never expect that, but then as you get into the program, you just get used to it, and also you want more. Once you open that door of knowledge and trying to find out more things, you will seek more. It's just the way it happened to me. But besides, being intensive learning and collaboration, but one of the biggest difference in a PhD program than a master program or a bachelor program is that, like what Pam said, you are being positioned as you're a PhD candidate. So you are bringing in your individual thought. You are bringing in your ideas. What do you think about this? How does that relate to others? How does it relate to the work experience that you have and other research that you've seen? And is that contradicting, or is it collaborating? Is it challenging? And so these are the things that what Pam mentioned is of collaborating, doing in the class. if you're in Dr. Gillis' class, I tell you that is going to be fun. You're sitting around the conference room table and you're being quizzed on every article. So is that right, Bill? So, but that's the kind of thing you expect.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's kind of thing you expect that, hey, you are, number one, you voluntarily come in to want to be in a PhD program. So you better get ready to learn and be able to share your knowledge. And in school, you share the knowledge by talking, collaborating, discussing. Once you finish, you share the knowledge through your writing. And that's part of your dissertation, part of your research paper and writing and manuscript that you submit to journals. And that's, you got to ask yourself whether this is something you would like to do, right? But during that weekend, besides all this intensive learning, I also find ways to have fun. You got to have it, particularly with your cohort, right? That you develop such a strong bond with them because they know what you're going through and they all struggle with a very similar thing. And some might know more on certain topics, some know more on the other topics. And that's why you help each other through the course that way. And we do have our own happy times as well. So you create your own happy times, happy moment with your cohort members, but definitely intensive learning, but don't lose the opportunity to collaborate with your cohorts and your faculties as well.
And I would just build on what you guys shared. A typical weekend for me, we have to be there by 7:45, 8 o'clock in the morning. I'll get up at 4:30 or 5 just to review my notes from the articles so I can be prepared for the discussion, because as Ron and Pam have both mentioned, it's discussion based and it's a vigorous discussion. So typically I'm getting up extra early to review the notes. My group tended to be very social. So Friday nights after class, we would go to a local restaurant and have dinner together. But most often, most of us were gone by 8 o'clock back in our homes or rooms, studying more for the next day. And so, up till midnight and then back up at 4:30 on Saturday and do it all again Saturday and Sunday. I found the weekends are exhausting. To be honest, as Ron said, it's knowledge overload. So I would add to what Pamela said about coming in early. Also, if you can, leave later on Sunday or even Monday. For me, when we would leave Sunday afternoon, I live locally, so I'm blessed with that benefit. But I would try and reserve that Sunday afternoon, evening, just for me to be quiet, do something to sort of not have to think, because I've done 7.5 days. So in order to prepare for going back to work on Monday, I've learned to sort of carve out that Sunday afternoon, evening, where I could sort of rebuild my batteries, recharge my batteries and process all that I had learned, but also really take care of myself. And that was, for me, that was something that I needed to do, that I found helpful, that way I didn't, burn out, honestly. So
I'll jump in and just say one more thing before we move to the next question. With me living in Huntsville, Alabama, and the university being in Mobile, Alabama, that means that I did a 5-hour drive one way. So you think about the magnitude of just the effort that had to be expended before you even get there to get to class. So this has to really be something that you're passionate about more than anything. So, we want you to come into this program with eyes wide open, because there will be sacrifices that you have to make, but it is very worth it and very rewarding. And that's all I have.
Speaking of the trip, I just, trigger a memory is that I live in Atlanta, so about 5.5-hour drive one way for me. Don't waste that time, or use that time wisely. Either you prepare to unwind, or you prepare for class, either way, right? So use that time wisely. And then all of us have devices nowadays, right? Connect to your phone, to your car, and so on. I do a lot of listening to the articles. So you just catch up, right? And do whatever means you can get to utilize those hours. and every hour is so precious. So just want to comment.
Thanks, everyone. So we've kind of talked about, what the residency weekends look like. You really have to be all in. It's a lot of learning. How do you handle the between the residencies? So about how long a week or, I'm sorry, it's not a week. How long between residencies would you say you spend on schoolwork?
I read every day. I'll be honest with you, I read every single day. There was never a time when I was without an article, because you would be amazed at just some of the ancillary time that you have that you can put towards your degree. If I'm waiting for a doctor's appointment, at work when times are a little bit slow, or if I'm waiting for a meeting, I'd pull out an article, I'd read, I'd highlight. Sunday was the lighter of all 7 days, because that's kind of my day to recharge and reflect. But I kept an article with me at all times, in my attaché case, in my purse, at my desk at work, at my desk at home. So it really just became a part of my life. It was a daily activity that I did. So, and even, here's the thing, even when you're not actively engaged in reading an article or dialoguing with your colleagues when you're away from the residency, your program is never far from your mind. Even if you're somewhere, doing a recreational activity, you're always thinking about your next thing that you've got to do. It really becomes a part of your DNA. And especially once you get into the program, you're passionate about it, you love it, you can't wait to get to the next article or to finish this article. It becomes kind of you're self-motivated. You have to be self-motivated in these programs. So you challenge yourself. So you're always reading, and the time that you allocate will vary, just kind of depends on what's going on in life, because you can't totally disconnect from life, but it just has to be a part of your daily routine, and that will vary from person to person.
Yeah, don't think about, like, going through the bachelor degree, just cram it in at the last minute. Cannot do that. It is not possible. The amount of reading that you expected to know, it's just not possible. So yes, I think this is where time management comes into play really importantly, that everyone has a different work schedule, life schedule. So you got to plan ahead how much time that you can devote to this program. I personally devote a half of my time to this program, besides working full time. So it goes extra, right? And that time can fluctuate from day to day, from event to event, of course. But at least you plan ahead that you allocated this amount of time or this day to do this and do that, and you can adjust accordingly. But put that big rock in that time schedule first, and then you can schedule things around and so on. And besides, like what Pam was saying, it changed your DNA. I would never thought this happened to me, because when I was, when I was going through a master program, I was a research assistant to a professor, who really wanted to do research. But then once you get in the program, it changed your mindset. Somehow kind of it connect two wires together. And then if you're listening to radio and you start, oh, well, how about, can you connect that to that? Okay, what about this is it being a factor affecting what you're thinking about? So to be honest, besides reading the required articles, you might on your own do your own research and look at more articles, because that's the interest area that you're in. So during the time between residency, yes, you have to prepare the assigned coursework. But then I think Dr. Gillis is good in encouraging you to go beyond that. They ask you for an extra article that you want to contribute, what you see outside the required reading that you want to share, bring it up, right? So these are the things that it become normal as a researcher.
And my schedule is a little bit, I wasn't able to do the daily reading habit. I know that's recommended by everyone. For me, I had to do large blocks of time So most weekends not in residency, I would do at least 3 or 4 hours on Saturday and 3 or 4 hours on Sunday. I got to a point where, and it took a bit, I could figure it out that I averaged about 45 minutes, maybe to an hour per article. So that meant if I had 15 articles to read, it was going to take me about 15 hours. And so, and we had sometimes upwards of 30 articles between residencies that we had to read. So it's a lot of reading. But I will tell you, the thing that really changed for me is one of my cohort recommended this, and most of us ended up doing it, was I got an iPad, and there's an app called Liquid Text that you can get, and you can import all of the articles, and you can read and annotate and do everything within that application. And so to Pam's point, that meant I had every article with me all the time. So if there was a moment, if I was sitting somewhere and had nothing to do, I could pop up an article. But for me and my schedule, it worked out a little bit better for me to say, like, I would try and take a Friday afternoon off of work, or hide away somewhere, take 2 or 3 hours, Saturday mornings and Sunday afternoons. That was for me what worked. And it just meant that really for 2 years, I didn't have a weekend, but that's part of that sacrifice that you make, but my family got used to that.
Thanks, Stacy. So if accepted, how should students prepare to start the program?
I would say time management, as Ron mentioned earlier. Go ahead with your family, your friends, and even with your employer. Hopefully, if you're going to pursue this program and you're employed, you have some level of support from your supervisor and your management chain. I know some places of employment offer funding to help support your educational pursuits. Some places of employment will allocate extra time or time off for you to be able to pursue this degree, maybe take a Friday. Let your immediate circle know, whether it's personal or professional, that you are getting ready to pursue the greatest challenge of your life. And you're going to need their support. You're going to need their understanding. You're going to need their flexibility, because that support system will be very important to you as you transition through this program. And also, I would say, if you're pursuing this level of education, really figure out what it is that you're passionate about. Really take stock, take observation of the business world around you. What things do you want to make a contribution of knowledge towards? Are there things in your workplace that you think could be better? Perhaps those will be the rudiments of your dissertation, because I believe that you have to begin with the end in mind. So go ahead, I would say, define those things that you're passionate about in your career as it relates to your professional studies, and prepare your support system, because they're also along this journey with you. Now, granted, your professors in your cohort, those will be the persons that you're most likely to dialogue with in terms of your studies and your research. But that support system, just being understanding, I think will go a long way. So that would be my advice to you at this point, if you're, at that point of getting ready to pursue this endeavor.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. This is not just your own pursuit, but really is a family event. You gotta, if you're married, you gotta have your spouse that really fully supportive of this decision, because they will be the one making sacrifices, right? You are busy thinking, reading, but they are the one that has to take care of the rest of it. So you got to have that agreement and support system in place, so for you to pursue this. Otherwise, no one wants to end up in divorce and other things, right? Because you're pursuing a PhD. So get that taken care of, and also find ways to engage them if possible. I have 2 college-age son, and I use them a lot on my paper. One helped me read them through just to mark it up for me, right? The other one helped me check the data to see whether they are aligned or am I missing anything. So use them to the degree that you think is appropriate. And so in some way, they kind of see what daddy and mommy is going through. And so they can appreciate the kind of things that you are going through as well. So definitely time management and get the support from your family.
A couple of things I would add to that is really think out the next 2 years of your life. If you're thinking about starting this program in May, what's ahead? So I actually delayed the start by a year. I learned about the program. I was super excited and wanted to do it. But at the time, I had volunteered for a major local volunteer fund. I was the chair of a major fundraiser, $300,000 fundraiser. And I thought, there's no way I can do that fundraiser and do school. So I deferred and started the next year. And then it also gave me time to really think through, because as an entrepreneur, if I don't work, I don't make money. I figured out how to build some structure and ended up hiring somebody full-time for one of my businesses so that I could not worry so much about that one. But I needed the time to prepare for that. So I would encourage you to think about, what do those next 2 years look like? I got my in-laws to delay a vacation because we wanted to go on a vacation with all of us. And I was like, y'all can go, but I'm not going. And so we're going next year. So really think about your schedule and you have to think out those 2 years. You don't want to miss a residency. Every weekend in between is going to be so crucial. For me, like I said earlier, the weekends were when I was able to do the studying. So I basically just got out. I unvolunteered from everything. I brought in people into my business to help me there. And it still was a lot of work after thinking through that. But, I would say plan ahead as best you can, move some things around, put some support structures in place. The other thing would just be, again, technology. I mentioned it earlier, prepare to have the best technology you can to help manage all of the information. And then one last thing I'll say, there's a book called The Dissertation Journey that I discovered about halfway through the program. It's a simple book. There's that one and a couple of others that I would recommend kind of pre-reading to help you prepare to get in that mindset of being in a program.
Thanks, Stacy. And real quickly, last question. What would you say, how do you balance work, family, and the program?
I would say, in terms of work, the PhD program at South is designed for people like us, for busy executives. As Dr. Hare said, we have obligations and responsibilities, and we are not at liberty to just quit our jobs and go to school. So the fact that this program exists and I'm able to be a part of it and then maintain my professional career and my family says a lot. So I'm very much appreciative to South because the program institutionalized balance because of the residency weekends. So that's number one. Secondly, with my employer, I made sure that they knew that I was undergoing or pursuing this educational benefit. And I also explained, this is going to help me be a better manager for the Missile Defense Agency. You have to explain to the people around you, here's what I'm pursuing, but here's how it's going to make life better for you. And so when people find the value that it presents to them, it also helps you to create that balance, because guess what? This is an investment. It's an investment of time. It's an investment of finances and resources. And so once you get buy-in from all those perspectives of your life, to me, it helps to create that balance intrinsically. And then we've already talked about the family aspect of making sure that, they support you And family can include, you know, your natural family, but it also can include your neighbors, your friends, your soccer mom buddies. There may be times when your kids need to go and stay with the other soccer mom so that you can read and you can focus. Everybody kind of has a different family dynamic. So just making sure that you engage all facets of your life. They know what you're pursuing, and ask them to invest in you. Even if it's just emotional support, all investments matter. And to me, that's what created that balance. Just the fact that somebody was calling to check to say, hey, for instance, my dissertation is on impression management in the business domain. I have friends who may not even understand what that is, but just the fact that they know that I'm pursuing this, they want to know how it's going. How are you? How are you emotionally? How are you doing academically? That helps to create that balance for me. So that's what I would say. Engage all facets of your life so that they understand what you are pursuing and that they're also a part of it as well.
Yeah, definitely engage everyone in your circle that this is what you are going through at this stage, right? Like I mentioned before, you know, when you balance, number one, you have your family support, right? Number two, you got your employer support that they know that this is what you're going through, but not to say that you should be reading articles during work time. That's a different thing. So I have a more flexible work schedule. I'm a freelance consultant myself. So I decided, you know, how much work I take on. So there's a little bit more flexibility for me. But you got to know how to balance your school, work, and life in your own way. So I can tell you my way is that you know, different people have different stage in life. So I have already 2 college age kids. So they are pretty much on their own. So I do not regularly, but when I go to conferences. So that's, you know, as one of the things that we do as a researcher, we present at different conference and attend conferences to learn more from other researchers, right? So I take on those opportunities and bring my wife with me. And that happens, you know, once a year. So that count as kind of our getaway. And I do occasionally, you know, bring my wife with me to Mobile. So she has her own work that she can do remotely, and she worked there. And then on the at night, then we go out for dinner. So I mean, you can make this happen in your own way. You just need to learn how to incorporate that in there and prioritize what's more important. You definitely put schoolwork, and then if they're supportive of you, then they probably will go along with that. So having that agreement up front, and that's how I balance my life. So everyone say you put your life on hold for 3 years. I don't think is possible or realistic, but you just have to learn how to manage all different events at the same time.
Well, I know we're running short on time, but I'll be quick. And maybe we can end on a little bit of a laugh. Like I'm sure all of you on this call, I have been an overachiever my entire life. And for most of my life was a perfectionist. I like to say now I'm a recovering perfectionist. And I've been working on that for a number of years, been in recovery for a while. This program sent me like, I'm an A+ star in recovery perfectionism because that's what I gave up. That's how I balanced it. I quit trying to keep a clean house. I mean, I just can't do it. That was the thing. My yard looks like crap. My house is a wreck. I don't make sure the kitchen sink is clean every night. It is what it is. That's how I balance it. You can do it too.
Thanks, Stacy. I love that. Thank you for the honesty. So we are going to go ahead and extend this about 10 or 15 minutes past the hour to allow you guys to ask some questions. And I've received a few questions through the chat. If anybody else has questions, if you want to shoot them to me via chat, that way, in case we run out of time, we can still contact you and make sure that we put you in contact with somebody that can go ahead and answer those questions for you. And I'm going to go ahead and invite our faculty that are here to also weigh in and jump in on any of these questions, just whoever feels like they have the best answer for it. So starting out, for those students who are seeking to have tenure positions, how does South set them up to be competitive with other institutions in terms of being published?
Well, I think I'm not the only one that can answer this question, but the first thing that we do is we ensure that we have identified or helped students to identify opportunities to pursue a tenure track position. All of the faculty, as well as the global scholars, have contacts with individuals at other AACSB as well as non-AACSB universities. So the program itself starts out with the networking that we're able to start working with you on. Secondly, we pay for our students to go and to make their own presentations at conferences. These days, we're paying for them to participate virtually, but still they get the opportunity to be exposed to individuals who are at those universities and to impress them with their work and their research. Third, for those students who have the additional time, we work with them to publish articles. Probably about 20% of the students who graduate from our program have already published a journal article. They are typically the students who have some extra time in their schedule and are able to devote time to writing and research. But every student who goes through our program will have attended, unless there's some obstacle that prevents them, they will have attended at least 4 or 5 conferences at our expense. They will have made a presentation. They have had a chance to meet and interact with people. And when they have a particular area or a topic, or even an individual that they've read an article, who's written an article, then the faculty, I'm sure, either will know them, or if they don't know them, then they don't mind setting up some kind of discussion with those individuals. So the opportunity is all about the way we've structured and that we're delivering our program. If Dr. Gillis or maybe even Dr. Smith, who hasn't spoken some now, maybe perhaps you'd like to make some comments on that question.
The only thing I'd add is that we also tend to, at these conferences, send students to the doctoral consortium that precedes the conference. And so those are day-long events where you get to meet professors at various levels from many different universities, and they kind of give you the, how do you attack this whole tenure track process? How do you get hired? How do you make tenure? Many of our people who do come into the program are already teaching at an institution. So they may just be moving over to a tenure track position. Others get placed at institutions around here, but to be able to really get competitively placed, you do need to have an article or two that's out there in publication or in the works at the very minimum, because that just makes you that much more competitive. And so if you're interested in that, as Dr. Hare said, we help you get to that publication process, and the various people do. The various professors help you out.
Yeah, and I really don't have anything to add other than just simplifying it. Social networking and research. If you want a tenure track job compared to a clinical job or an instructor position, those are the two things that are absolutely necessary. And one thing that's unique with our program compared to other non-traditional programs is you get a heavy dose of methods, which makes you proficient to actually conduct the research and publish the research, because you can have the greatest idea in the world, but if you don't execute an empirical assessment of that idea, it's not going to get published. So the publications are key. The faculty here are really receptive to helping you with that. And then also networking, and you've got a really well networked faculty here, in addition to the global scholars that come in who aren't on staff at South Alabama. So it's a uniquely positioned program to help people who are interested in tenure track jobs, but don't have the ability to go through a traditional PhD program.
Thanks, Dr. Smith. Quickly, will students have the opportunity to take courses outside of Mcob?
I don't know where Joe went, but The short answer to that question is no. Everything is in-house, as a traditional PhD program typically is. Joe, if you want to jump in on that, we haven't done that yet. I don't know if that's an opportunity in the future necessarily, but we have certain.
Two parts of that would be whether it's an additional course outside of it, right? Which
Right.
we wouldn't have any problem with it as long as it didn't interfere with the courses that you were taking. You may have to pay additional money if you were taking, say, some master's levels statistics course that you just were interested in. We don't have a problem with that, but as long as it didn't interfere with the weekends or with your normal keeping up with coursework. In terms of substituting for something, I don't see that as a possibility.
Thanks, Dr. Gillis. Are there?
I was going to tell you, I disappeared because we're trying to let people know that we will be to the writing workshop shortly, another 5 minutes or so. I just want you to know that we will. We're just trying to answer some questions.
Are there weekly online discussion post requirements or assignments?
Well, there. I wouldn't say weekly. It may be weekly, it may be every other week. It differs by the course that you're taking. You will be given an assignment between. You may meet individually with a professor. That often in recent years is via Zoom. Sometimes I meet with students 2 or 3 times. Other times we exchange emails and we exchange text messages. So there is support there, but it's not like you have weekly organized meetings. You meet when you need to meet, and you meet when you have the schedule that can fit the time that's needed. So I know that Dr. Gillis, he may have some regular meetings, but most of the research methodology sections and support, those are provided on an as-needed basis because everybody's busy with their schedule. So we try to coordinate what works best for both people.
So next question, I'm going to ask 2 questions in one. They both kind of revolve around the dissertation. One, are students encouraged to build an article database for their dissertation? And at what point do students start working with the dissertation chairs?
Well, everyone has to have an article database for the dissertation, but they really start that process out early because they build article databases for the research papers that they write during the program. In the long run, in terms of selecting a dissertation topic, about 1/3 of the people come in with something that they think they want to work on. A number of those people change. The purpose of the program, though, is to expose you to a wide variety of topics so that you are knowledgeable and capable of talking about that variety of topics. And some people choose early in the program, others choose later in the program. I would say probably towards the end of the second year, most people have in fact selected something that they want to focus on. The big difference in a program that is non-traditional like ours is that everybody that comes into our program has business experience. They come in with situations that they wondered how to solve. And so instead of taking 6 months or a year or something like that, as most traditional programs, the students in those traditional programs take in order to identify a topic, our students, based on their experience in industry, they come in with lots of topics and lots of ideas. And so their challenge is more, which of these topics do I want to work on? But they usually are several topics. And so that's the reason it takes them a while. They need to read and understand the background and ultimately select something. What we do is we counsel with them to identify something that actually makes a contribution and will in fact make them look good and have the skills and the knowledge and work on a topic that will be in demand in the marketplace when they want to make the transition from their industry and working position into academia.
So, if there's an individual that has approximately 5 or 6 years of industry experience and is just completing their MBA, what is the likelihood of a young professional such as that being admitted into our program?
Well, I would say that it depends upon what their background and motivation is. We are looking for individuals who are intellectually curious. And you also have to be mature, and you have to be in a position, as many of the students have said, to be able to manage your time so that you can devote it to the program. So we ask individuals to prepare a personal statement. We review that, we talk to them personally, but most importantly, what I would say is that a very, very important component of our program and the admission process is the written proposal and ultimately the interview. You must take that serious. Some individuals don't take it serious, and those individuals fall by the wayside. We're going to be spending about 2 hours after we finish the information session with individuals who want to attend the workshop. By the way, all of this, as well as the workshop, is being recorded. So you will be able to access this material to listen to it again, maybe 2 or 3 times, as well as the writing workshop. But about 50% of the admission criteria is based on working on the proposal. So take that serious, write on it for a week or 2, set it aside. You'll probably come back later and say, wow, I can do better. But work on your proposal and prepare for your interview. And I would say in terms of success, in general, we would accept about 40% of the applicants. Some of those people decide to drop out in the process because things have changed. When I say drop out in the process, I'm talking about the admission process because things change. But a number of those individuals, in fact, come back the next year, and we try to work with them if we really feel like that they are committed and have made the adjustments that are necessary to be successful in the program. In fact, this past year, because of the virus that was encountered by all of us, several of the students said their time and their situation and their circumstances had changed, and they asked if they could defer. So we did, in fact, defer for them. But other individuals, as they start the process, say, I really want to do this, but I've gotten into it and I'm not really at the point where I can finish everything. But they come back later. So we screen people very closely so that those individuals that we ultimately admit have the best chance possible to be successful in the program. In fact, the written proposal is what we call a realistic job preview, in the sense that it's realistic about what you'll be doing in the program. And if you eventually, and when you do eventually, we believe, make a transition into teaching at the university level, you will be prepared for it, but you will also understand what's involved and what some of the challenges are. And so by going through the written proposal, you will understand and be able to determine if, in fact, the early decision that you thought you wanted to pursue a PhD, if in fact that was the correct decision and the one that will provide the best pathway forward for you in your career journey.
Last question, and also since we have run a little short on time, I went ahead and shared my email in the chat. If there's anybody at any point that has any additional questions or wants to get into contact with any of our faculty or staff, please just shoot me an email and I'll be happy to connect you. So our last question for the morning is in reference to the business analytics concentration. Will this concentration provide enough support to pursue an academic opportunity in finance upon completion?
Well, it depends upon what kind of finance you say, an opportunity for a career. I'm assuming that that question is about an academic career. In finance, my understanding, and finance is not my field, but I've learned a lot about it because I've worked with some students, and when we were at Kennesaw, we had a finance area. There are basically 2 tracks in the finance area. There's the econometrics track, which is very mathematical and very quantitative. There is the applied side. On the applied side, if you want to be a business analytics applied individual, if you want to be teaching at a university, perhaps in a finance department, but on the applied side, but if you want to teach business analytics, then we will prepare you to teach that on an applied basis. That's where most of the courses are, particularly when we talk about undergraduate and master's courses, they're on the applied side. So for a finance individual or an individual who's interested in an opportunity in a finance department, there will be not only general business analytics courses that you'll have an opportunity to teach, but you also will have an opportunity to teach in an economics environment, or perhaps even a marketing environment or a management environment. But yes, the business analytics will prepare you for the applied side, but it is not the technical econometric side that is emphasized in a number of programs.
Thanks, Dr. Hare. And I'm going to go ahead and hand it back to you to wrap us up and share about the writing workshop if you'd like.
Yes, the writing workshop will start in 2 to 3 minutes as soon as we can transition from the current delivery of this program. We invite all of you to join the writing workshop. If you choose to do so, you will have to pay an additional fee in order to get access to the materials, but you can come without any fee to our session in a moment, where we'll spend a couple of hours talking about the details. The fee that you pay to get access to the materials is part of our licensing agreement to expose you to that material, but we'd like you to come if you're really serious. If not, and you decide about your interest further in the future, then you can access that material asynchronously. When you join the program, I want to share with you that we provide you with a laptop with all the software that you need. We provide you with books. We provide you with some food, with articles from the journals, and finally the databases that are widely used in the increasing trend towards secondary data. So we're pleased to have you listen to us and understand more about our program. As Stacy indicated, we believe we have an excellent program. Our students in the past have been highly successful. All of the students that were interested in making the transition, to my knowledge, have made that transition. Most of the transitions are to AACSB accredited universities, but sometimes individuals have geographic considerations. They don't want to leave their family or where their current spouse or other significant other has a job. They have kids in school. Maybe some of them want to go to religiously affiliated universities that are not accredited by AACSB. So our students, when they graduate, they pursue a wide variety of different opportunities, but most of it is based upon the opportunities and the activities that they want to be involved in. And we provide them the skills and the knowledge to be competitive in a wide variety of situations. So thank you for participating with us. And we hope that you'll join us and learn more about the written proposal.
All right. Thanks, everyone.